YouTube family, welcome to Mo's Knows. It's that time again. We got to recap week 12. A lot of things happening. We're going to do this show a little bit differently today because we want to focus on this playoff picture. Things are changing, and I think week to week, we're going to see some fluctuation. So we just want to follow it from this point to the end of the season. We're going to jump right in. Be back with you in a second.
Sorry, Mose couldn't be here, but he doing the Mrs. Mosley thing right now. You know, they're out doing. They're enjoying Valentine's Day is what I was trying to say.
I got you.
Y'all the worst.
You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, you don't know nothing. You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, but I know that. You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, but I know that. You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, but I know that. Mo's know it all. Mo's know it all. I guarantee real takes, ain't no faking that at all. If you don't know, you gon' know. Mo's knows, tune into the show. Not a game, nitty gritty, ready go committee. Mo should be the CEO. Too solid, too real, too 100. I'ma keep it real when you don't. This that real gold talk. 24 karat words. San Francisco 49er fam. Realest squad on the earth. The 5 God, number 5 taking us to 6. Young killer Trey Lance. New era, new season. Mo's got you covered. Go ahead and subscribe. 2022 this year got a whole nother vibe. Mo's know it all. Mo's know it all. Mo's know it all. Tune in for the vibe. You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, you don't know nothing. You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, but I know that. You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, you don't know nothing. You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, but I know that. Mo's knows.
Man, I love that intro. I love that intro. Shout out to the bro, Lake City Fresh, hooking the brother up with that one, man. Thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in. Another crazy week in the NFL. I love jumping on here and doing these shows with you guys, but every week, that means it's one less week we have of football. But we're getting more towards the exciting time. Now we're getting into December football. Teams are coming into that final stretch, getting ready for the playoff, getting ready for that one and done tournament. So we're going to touch on it. We're going to tap in and we're going to find out where we are. For those of you that are tuning in and that will tune in, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for your time and attention. You can connect with me on social media, Twitter and IG, What Mo's Knows. Also on TikTok, you just type in Mo's Knows with the period at the end. My TikTok will come up. Also, if you want to hit me outside of social media, if you don't want everybody to know your business, you want to keep it private, what.mos.knows@gmail.com. Like I said, with this show, today we're going to do it just a little bit differently because I want to focus on the playoff picture. So we're going to tap on the games, and we're just going to go order from top to bottom. But then we're going to focus most of our attention at the end of the show on the playoff picture. So we're going to start with Thursday. First of all, happy belated Thanksgiving. I hope everybody had an enjoyable Thanksgiving, got to spend some time with family, eat some good food. I know I did. I was out on the grill cooking up some ribs for the family. We got together. We had turkey. We had ham. We had roast beef. We had salmon. We had shrimp. We had greens. We had string beans. We had potato salad. We had candy yams. We had sweet potato pie, chocolate cake. We had all types of stuff. Listen, that's how your boy got this big, because my grandmother and all my family, they was feeding me. But we had an amazing time together. So I hope you all did as well. While we were eating, while we were cooking, there was football happening. First game of the night was the Buffalo Bills visiting the Detroit Lions. Buffalo was able to come out with this one, but they kind of struggled a little bit. They kind of had the game in hand, but then they let Detroit come back in. The Bills have kind of been I don't want to say struggling. They haven't been struggling, but they haven't looked like the Buffalo Bills that we saw at the beginning of the season, that were completely dominant, that was shutting teams out, that was scoring points at will. They're kind of going through those bumps and bruises of the midseason point. A game that you thought would have been easy. I understand the circumstances surrounding, the big snowstorm that they had. They just played in Detroit's building as the home team because their game got moved. I don't know why they didn't stay in Detroit. They went back to Buffalo and then came back to Detroit. So a lot of things could be playing into that. Josh Allen and, the issue that he's having with his elbow. A lot of things are contributing to that. But the good teams find ways to win. And they were able to pull that one out 28-25. Moving on to the second game of that matchup, we got the New York Giants at the Dallas Cowboys. This game was actually closer than maybe it was portrayed on the TV screen. The Giants kind of had this game in hand, but Dallas did make second half adjustments, and they came out in the third quarter and were able to put 14 points up in the board. They kind of seized momentum, scored another touchdown in the fourth quarter, and they got the win in a really, really tight division battle. And then the final game of the night, New England Patriots visiting the Minnesota Vikings. All three games on Thanksgiving were dynamite football games. This was a back and forth slugfest, a potential touchdown that was taken off the board for the New England Patriots. There was some controversy surrounding that, but ultimately Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson were able to put their team in position to get a W on Thanksgiving. So that's going to wrap up those Thanksgiving games. Moving to Sunday's matchup. First one on the docket, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Well, they weren't able to run the ball effectively without having Leonard Fournette, but this team just does not seem the same. I got to watch more games and put on some tape to see if I can pinpoint what it is. But this team, has stars in every level. This team has a good defense, good offense. I have to look up the injury to Tristan Wirfs. I did see him go down. I did see him get carted off. I didn't hear if that was season ending or not. If anybody knows and could put that in the chat or write that in the comment sections if you're watching this playback later. That's something that's not going to help. I know they've had some inconsistencies on that offensive line as well. But it was a little disappointing to see Tampa Bay lose this game, particularly in overtime to the Cleveland Browns. I mean, I appreciate Nick Chubb because he helped my fantasy team out this week. However, it just is, it was a road game for Tampa going to Cleveland. I'm sure coming from the warm weather of, Florida, going to the cold air of Cleveland. And we had some weather issues going on over here on the East Coast. A lot of wind, a lot of rain, some snow in some places. So maybe that had an effect. But definitely a winnable game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They just weren't able to pull it out. Moving on, Cincinnati Bengals visiting the Tennessee Titans. They were able to get a W. I said in my weekly picks, again, you can head over to my TikTok where I post my picks every week. The Cincinnati Bengals schedule gets a lot tougher after this game. And I felt like if they didn't win this game, it could lead to a slippery slope. It could lead to them going on a run in the opposite direction. So you hear a lot of teams, you hear a lot of coaches and players talk about they don't look ahead. I know I did, and I feel like they did too. Obviously, you want to go into every game with the idea of we need to win this game. However, I felt like looking at their schedule, let me just pull it up real quick because so after Tennessee, they have the Chiefs, they have the Browns, and that's the Browns with Deshaun Watson. They have the Buccaneers, who we know are up and down, so we may get a good Buccaneers team, we may not. Patriots always play folks tough because of Bill Belichick and the way he schemes up defense. And then they end the season with the Bills and with the Ravens. Now, both of those are home games, but you got Chiefs, Browns, Bucks, Bills, and Ravens. Their schedule after Tennessee was super tough. Super tough. So now they sit at 7-4. They are tied with Baltimore, and they actually have the tiebreaker. Huh? We got to check this. Oh no, they don't. They lost to Baltimore. I'm sorry, that's not a W. Baltimore has the tiebreaker, so they're tied at 7-4. Baltimore has a tiebreaker because Baltimore won the first matchup. So that last game of the season versus Baltimore is even more crucial now. So just like I was saying, their schedule gets really, really tough after that Tennessee game. So I feel like they needed the Tennessee game to keep them right in the hunt for the playoff picture. So we'll have to see, how that shakes out for them. Houston and Miami. Houston looks like a lock for the number 1 overall pick. Miami has been rolling as of late. I think they've won 5 in a row. I did not think that Houston was going to be the team that ended that winning streak for them. Not much to say there. Tua had a solid game. Weren't able to run the ball as effectively, but they didn't really need to against this Houston team. Chicago Bears visiting the New York Jets, another game that was marred by the weather situation, and another game that we had an opportunity to potentially see Justin Fields versus Zach Wilson. One benched, one was hurt, so we didn't get to see that matchup play out. Mike White comes in, throws for 315 yards against the Chicago Bears defense. And leads the Jets to a 31-10 victory. Is that an indictment that Mike White needs to be the starter going forward and Zach Wilson has completely lost his job? No, you got to do it more than one game and against more than just the Chicago Bears as your opponent. We know that their defense is not very good right now, especially dealing with some injuries. They've traded away some top talent. So that's not a good measuring stick for Mike White. So he has to do this a little bit more consistently for it to stick. But he did play well, and when he was called upon to come in the game. Atlanta Falcons versus Washington Commanders, that turned out to actually be a pretty good game. Low-scoring game. Brian Robinson Jr., 105 yards for the Commanders, helped push them forward. Defense made some crucial plays and crucial stops when they needed to. Commanders are also themselves on a really, really good run. I think, what is that, 3 in a row now? And they've won 6 of their last 7. So they're playing good football. They're figuring it out. They're rallying behind Taylor Heineke. So they're playing good football, which they need to in a stacked NFC East. Now, if you'd asked me in the beginning of the year if the NFC East was going to be a stacked division, I would have told you no. But that's why we play. The Denver Broncos. I understand they came from west to east. They had to play in Carolina. Carolina was in that weather system where it was raining and it was crazy there as well. But they let Sam Darnold, who's not in midseason form, who just got called up and named the starter this week, hadn't played all year. They let Sam Darnold beat them. And I had egg on my face because I picked Denver because I'm like, there's no way Denver is going to allow Sam Darnold to come off the bench and get a W. Like, there's no way. There was a way. Baltimore and Jacksonville, this actually turned out to be a really, really exciting football game. And we got to see what Trevor Lawrence is really, really capable of. There was a lot of hype for him coming out of high school, a lot of hype for him at Clemson, became a national champion there. And we were waiting to see that the fullness of his development, which I still think we haven't seen the fullness of it, but we were waiting to see what that looked like put all together. 29-37 for 321 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Now, he did have 4 sacks. I got to look at the film and see were those sacks his fault, or the offensive line fault. It could be a combination of both. However, 129.8 passer rating against a pretty stingy Baltimore defense. He's finally starting to put it all together. And this is a game where you saw him composed. He wasn't flustered. He did not wither under the pressure of being, at the time, a 3-7 football team going up against a perennial playoff team in the Baltimore Ravens. He stepped up at the end, got his team the go-ahead touchdown with the 2-point conversion. And Baltimore still had a chance to win this game. Had it not been, I don't even know if weather was a factor here, but Justin Tucker almost made a 67-yard field goal. Like, it was on the money. It was just short. Like, he just didn't have enough power. And I don't think it was Justin Tucker. It could be a combination of the wind and all types of factors. He almost made a 67-yarder, folks. But this was a really, really good game. I'm excited for this Jacksonville Jaguars team moving forward. I think they're buying into what head coach Doug Peterson is selling. They just need to figure out how to put it all together, get some more pieces around them, build up that offensive line, add some more receivers, continue to build on that defense. This team will be just fine. Another nail biter. Chargers versus the Arizona Cardinals that came down to a 2-point conversion. Brandon Staley, head coach of the Chargers, is known to gamble. Instead of kicking a field goal and going into overtime, he trusted his team. He had a great play call. Gerald Everett was wide open. Like, they didn't even think that the ball was going to go to him. That's how open he was. That 2-point conversion was probably one of the easiest conversions I've ever seen. And that kind of speaks to the lack of discipline and the deficiencies on the Arizona Cardinals defense. A defense that I see, a lot personally, being a fan of a team in the NFC West. They had this game in hand. Defense couldn't hold them out of the end zone, and they drew a blank when the 2-point conversion was called. So shout out to Brandon Staley for keeping that same energy and being who we know of him to be, where he's a gambler. I'm going to go for the win. We're not going to play for overtime. So kudos to him. Another really good game. The Las Vegas Raiders, Seattle Seahawks. What a game. It looked like the Raiders were on their way to getting blown out. The Seahawks were playing really, really good football. Geno Smith, another 300-yard game. He threw for 328 yards. But Vegas rallied. And they fought, and they fought, and they fought. They were able to tie the game up at 34 apiece and take it into overtime. And then Josh Jacobs with a 70-plus yarder to ice the game in overtime. Kudos to Josh McDaniels for sticking with his running back. 229 yards on the day. A good battle, and one that I will gladly take, because that means my San Francisco 49ers have sole possession of first place in the NFC West. The Los Angeles Rams versus the Kansas City Chiefs. We knew this wasn't going to be a game. The Rams are on their third quarterback. No disrespect to Bryce Perkins. I believe Aaron Donald suffered a high ankle sprain in that game. This Rams team is not the same. They won the Super Bowl. They paid to get it. They paid a hefty price to win the Super Bowl. They won their Super Bowl. And now that they're not motivated, they're not hungry. Add in injuries. This team is going nowhere fast. My San Francisco 49ers pitch a shutout against the New Orleans Saints. We only put up 13 on offense. Not making excuses for it. There are some things that we talked about, that I've talked about with my family over at Nitty Gritty Niners. Shout out to Wayne Breezy. Shout out to Fair to God. We had Raj on last night for our Monday night show. And shout out to our sister, Crystal PGV. Whatever it is that you believe in, if you believe in prayer, please send up a prayer based on whatever your belief or your faith is in. Please send up a prayer for our sister Crystal Peachy Brown, for the passing of her father. It's a difficult time for her and her family. So we just want to send our love and our condolences. Myself, Mrs. Mose Knows, and all the little Mose Knows Rugrats. We just sending you our love and prayers and condolences. And we just pray that God comfort you in this time. But we talked about traveling to Mexico City and the altitude there and playing in that city, in that stadium, and then traveling back and having to prepare for a game on a short week. Kyle Shanahan even switched up how he prepared and changed the practice schedules and things like that. So that's my Rugrats in the background I was just talking about. So he changed up some things this week, and offense came out a little bit flat. But this defense that is playing at an all-time level made sure to have the back of the offense. Offense did enough. We got a touchdown. We got 2 field goals, and the defense didn't allow any points whatsoever. So now we're back to regularly scheduled programming. We don't have to travel anywhere. We get to stay home for another home game. We get to get back to our normal schedule, normal routine, and we get to get ready for the Miami Dolphins that's coming to town. Green Bay Packers, Philadelphia Eagles, Sunday Night Football. I'm right here in the tri-state area. I should have went to this game. It actually turned out to be a better game than I thought on the onset. The Eagles weren't able to pass as well, but Jalen Hurts having 157 yards on the ground. I think as a team, Philly rushed for over 300. Let me pull it up real quick. 363 running yards. They have 2 runners. I mean, one is Jalen Hurts. He's not a running back, but he runs for 157. Miles Sanders runs for 143. That's 2 runners over 140. That's insane. 363 total yards on the ground. Jalen Hurts didn't have to pass that much. 16 of 28 for 153, 2 passing touchdowns, but 157 on the ground. This Eagles team is dynamite, but the defense kind of let them down a little bit. The Green Bay Packers were in this game. It was 27-20 at halftime, and both teams put up 13 points in the second half, and that's why they still lost by 7. But they were in this game, and as well as we've seen the Eagles defense play, and as much as we've seen the Packers offense struggle, particularly with the injury to Aaron Rodgers in this game, I felt like the Eagles defense could have played a little bit better. Even Jordan Love, 6 of 9, 113 yards and a touchdown. So there are weaknesses in this Eagles defense that teams are finally getting to see with the more and more that they watch film. But if the Eagles are able to run the ball like this, it really doesn't matter what deficiencies they have in the defense, because the defense is going to figure out how to make a play. They intercepted Aaron Rodgers twice. Is it the same guy who's been picking people off all year? Who had an interception? Chauncey Gardner-Johnson had one? I think Chauncey Gardner-Johnson had one. No, Reed Blankenship and Josiah Scott. So get a couple of turnovers, get your offense, get Jalen Hurts more opportunities to possess the ball. Yeah, you can bend but don't break on defense. As long as your offense is putting up 40 points, you can find a way to get a W. And then the final game, Monday night, Pittsburgh and Indianapolis. Indianapolis has been playing well. Pittsburgh has not been. But Pittsburgh is just one of those sneaky teams that they have the pieces and that they find a way to win. So it was a pretty exciting game, especially going into the second half. Indy was getting routed at first, and then they found a way to fight back. But they just gave up too many points. Not enough effort on defense from them. And Pittsburgh was able to walk out of there with a W. So those are the games for week 12. Exciting watch. Now we're going to take a look at let me get myself set up here. We're going to take a look at the playoff picture. And what I love about the playoff picture is the way it shifts. Now, this was the playoff picture 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, after week 9, I did a show with my brother. Shout out to Jesse Naylor. from Last Second Sports. If you're not subscribed to him, go over to his YouTube channel, Last Second Sports, and give him a subscription as well. But we were on here talking about this playoff picture and seeing what the seeding was at the current moment, and trying to figure out, will it stay like this or will it change? Obviously, in 3 weeks' time, there has been some really big changes, particularly on the AFC side. So this was the AFC 3 weeks ago. As of today, this is the AFC now. A lot of change. So I'm going to come back and just get a quick snapshot of where everybody is and then now where they are now. Boom. So Kansas City moves from 2-1. The Dolphins move all the way from 6-2. The Titans and Ravens, they swip spots. So the Titans move up to 3. The Ravens are at 4. Bills drop all the way from 1-5. The Bengals, who were a bubble team 3 weeks ago, are now in the 6th spot. And the Jets, who were 5, drop down to 7. The Chargers, who were 7, I think they were 7. Yep, Chargers were 7. Now they're on the bubble. They're on the bubble so much, they're behind the Patriots. So the Patriots are the first bubble team, and then it's the Chargers. So we have a lot of movement on this AFC side. Now, I think based on how things have gone, it looks like Kansas City will stay at that 1 spot. But there could be a lot of movement between 2 and 7, particularly between the Jets and the Dolphins. That's division. Bills also in that division, depending on how they play Miami. I think they have another game against the Dolphins on their schedule? I don't think they played them twice yet. I don't want to pull it up on the other screen because I don't want to take this away from you guys' view. Click on this. Give me the Bills. Yep, they have the Dolphins in 2 weeks. So the Bills play the Patriots on Thursday Night Football. And then they have 2 divisional games in a row. Or no, wait. Aren't the Patriots in a division? That's 3. They play the Patriots on Thursday. Then the following week they play the Jets. And the following week they play the Dolphins. So if the Bills can rack off 3 straight wins against division opponents, they cooking, and they can move themselves right back into that 2 seed. Depending on how the Jets fare with these teams, they could move up. If the Bills win the next 3 games, and depending on what the Jets do, maybe they only move to 5. Maybe they jump back to 5. But I foresee a lot of movement here. I don't know if the Dolphins stay at 2. They kind of have a tough sled ahead. I feel like the Bills can kind of get themselves back at 2. Baltimore dropping that game to Jacksonville kind of messed them up from being in that 3 spot. So we'll have to see what happens between 3 and 4 because they've already flip-flopped. So they could flip-flop again. So this is what's the fun part is every week, if somebody has an uncharacteristic loss or if somebody comes through with a big win, it's going to change the seeding. So it's going to adjust and fluctuate every week. We still have 6 weeks to go, 13 through 18. 13 through 17. My bad, 13 through 7. We're not at 18 weeks yet. No, it is 18 because it's 17 games, right? Plus the bye. Yeah, 18 weeks. Yeah, 13 through 8 weeks, 13 through 18. Come on, man. Y'all got me thinking I'm tripping. All right, so let's go back to our old standings. Now, the NFC didn't change that much. NFC don't seem to be as exciting as the AFC. So this is what the picture was 3 weeks ago. We got the Eagles 1, Vikings 2, Seahawks 3, Bucks 4, Cowboys 5, Giants 6, 49ers 7. In 3 weeks' time, this is what the standings look like now. So we'll go back here. Come on, man, get out of here. And then in 3 weeks' time, this is the change. So Eagles stay at 1. Vikings stay at 2. My 49ers jump from 7 to 3. That's what happens when you take first place in your division. We jump from 7 to 3. Now 4, 5, and 6. So 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 all stayed the same. Buccaneers still 4. Cowboys still 5. Giants still 6. But look at the AFC East with all 4 teams in the playoffs. Now, that's if they started today. The Commanders, winning 6 of their last 7, have moved into the 7th seed, bumping out the Seattle Seahawks. So the Seahawks are the first team on the bubble, and the Falcons, just because they're the second closest team, they're on the bubble, but they're on the outskirts of the bubble. Falcons would need a miracle to jump in front of Seattle and to battle with the Commanders for that 7th seed. So do I see a lot of fluctuation here? No, the Eagles are already 10-1. They would have to go on a historic slide for the Cowboys to overtake them. They would need to lose like 3-4 in a row. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Minnesota also, with only 2 losses on their jacket right now, I think they're pretty safe and secure. We'd have to take a look at their record. Would my 49ers be able to catch them? Let me see. Let me just do that quickly. Because right now we have 32 minutes. So we had a good show. We won't keep you guys too much longer. So they got the Jets. That could be tough. The Lions are playing people tough. They have the Colts. That should be easy. Then they have Giants, Vikings, and Bears. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Of the last 6. It's possible they could go 3-3 in their last 6. Maybe they lose to the Jets. Maybe they lose to the Giants. Maybe they lose to the Packers, because the Packers always play them well. It's possible, but I don't see them. I don't see them splitting their last 6. I don't see them splitting 3-3 in their final 6. And then with that, they would end up being 12-5. My Niners already have 4 losses, so that means we'd only have to lose 1 more game. And while I have faith in my team to not lose more than 1 game, it is the NFL and anything can happen. Listen, we almost got a scare last week with we lost Elijah Mitchell for 6 to 8 weeks. Christian McCaffrey got banged up, and he's day-to-day with knee soreness. The Saints were playing dirty, going below Jimmy Garoppolo's knees. I counted at least 3 or 4 times. I counted only 1 call. I don't know what the rest were doing in that game, but we could have lost Jimmy Garoppolo, already down Trey Lance. A lot of things can happen. So I feel like right now the Vikings are secure. But again, this is why we're going to be checking this every single week, because 1 loss can really, really affect the standings here. So it's going to be really, really fun to watch and keep track of. That is going to do it. That is going to wrap up our what we know for week 12 in the NFL. Got a few comments here. Let's see what we got going on. We got Silk68. He says, prayers for Miss Peachy. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you. We will definitely be sure that she gets all those prayers. Ronnie Montoya face said it all. I hope that was about the Broncos. Cousin Terrence in the building. Broncos country. Let's ride. Yeah, they're going to ride all the way to all of them L's. We got Spider 1000 MTG. He says prayers to our sister. And then Terrence again, got to get your thoughts on the Sean Taylor Memorial. I think it's a really, really good thing. I am a little biased while I'm not a Commanders fan, because Sean Taylor was one of my favorite players. Not a fan of the University of Miami, particularly as like I am the 49ers. However, in their day, you couldn't watch college football on a Saturday and not watch a Miami game. And how dynamic he was on the football field. Everybody points to the play in the Pro Bowl where he lit up the punter. And it wasn't because he was bigger and stronger and faster and wanted to impose his will. That was just his mentality on the football field. His mentality on the football field was, if you have a different color jersey, it is my job to tear your head off of your shoulders if you have the ball in your hands. So if you don't want to get killed, get rid of the football. He played with a passion, with an energy, with an effort. That was only matched by a few. He was different. And I don't want to get into the specifics of what happened with his situation. It's just unfortunate that somebody like him who was just trying to help, knowing the situation and the area and the people that he comes from, just trying to help some young kids who might not have that help otherwise. And for them to take advantage of his kindness and do what they did, it sucks. So for the Washington team to honor him and memorialize him in that way, I thought it was a great gesture. We see statues of pro players, past and present, at a lot of these other stadiums and facilities. So to see Sean get his flowers, that was amazing to see. We got Brett Brooks here. He says, "Love what you do, brother." Thank you, Brett. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you for tuning in and watching the show and listen to me ramble about a sport that I love. Thank you for everybody who tuned in. Thank you for everybody who will watch the post of this video. Again, you can reach out to me on my social media, Twitter and IG. We simplified it. What Mose Knows across all platforms. TikTok is simply Mose Knows. That's where you can find my weekly picks. And I will be back with you guys on Thursday talking fantasy football. Who were our outstanding performers for week 12? And what changes do we need to make to our lineup to finish our fantasy season strong and get some late season W's. Love and appreciate all you guys. And I'll catch you later. Peace.